Have you ever seen an advertisement so bad that you wondered, how did this ever get approved? A campaign launches, the brand is confident, and the budget is huge. And then, within hours, the backlash begins. Welcome to Miss the Mark with Jacie Ambrose, the podcast where I break down marketing mistakes that made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Each episode will explore real marketing mistakes and what led to a brand overall missing the mark. Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Miss the Mark with me, Jacie Ambrose. A little bit about me, I am a marketing and communications student at the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and I love all things marketing, public relations, and advertising. I feel like this space can be really fast moving, so I felt like this podcast was the perfect opportunity for me to look back on brand mistakes as well as learn more and teach others about some marketing and mistakes and some fun things that we can learn even though there has been some major pitfalls. So let's go ahead and dive in and get started with our first Miss the Mark episode. And for this one, we're talking about a big brand controversy that happened within the past year. So this happened on July 23rd, 2025, and this included the brand American Eagle. And if you don't know what American Eagle is, they are more of a mall staple store, and they're known for having denim and casual American fashion, like flannels and cardigans and things like that. So they launched this campaign at the end of July last summer featuring Sydney Sweeney. The title of the campaign was where this really kicked off for the overall controversy. The title was called Sydney Sweeney Has Good Jeans. And yes, the word choice really matters when it comes to this, and we'll dive more into that in a little bit. But first, who exactly is Sydney Sweeney right now? So at this point, Sydney Sweeney is a breakout actress. She's moved between a lot of genres within her acting and projects, but she's been in romantic comedies, a lot of prestige television dramas. She's also been in a lot of blockbuster franchises tied to the Spider-Man universe. I thought that was really interesting. And along her rise of popularity, she's also become more of a polarizing figure within the Hollywood landscape. So with her public perception, she's been really associated with having a very all-traditional, all-American aesthetic with her blonde hair, blue eyes, and being more conventionally attractive and hyper-feminine. Nothing is wrong with that, but a lot of people have alleged, and she's faced a lot of criticism online, that she leans too much into her hypersexualization and caters too much to men whenever she's selling products and things like that. And having it reinforce older beauty stereotypes is some things that she's also been accused of and is all alleged. But it's important to note that she's not just some actress off the street in Hollywood. She does have a controversial past, and people do see her as sort of having that figure in Hollywood and that reputation. So that's important to note when we're looking at this. So moving away from Sweeney, it's important to look at the advertisement itself. So visually, I really liked the advertisement when it came to the colors. It was nothing very interesting. She was in head to toe denim, and she had relaxed fit jeans on, and the top of what she was wearing was a little bit more fitted. Her hair was very natural. It kind of looked like she just rolled out of bed, and she had minimal makeup, and her eyes were slightly flushed. She wasn't all made up, and it kind of gave more of an effortless, undone, and it had a lot of classic American Eagle blue tone branding and just keeping that overall feel up. When it came to the wordplay of her advertisement, this is where it gets really interesting. So the tagline was, like we talked about, Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. So throughout the ad, a soft voice over says,
"Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My jeans are blue."
Sydney Sweeney has great jeans.
So it's kind of funny. It's supposed to be a pun, a denim joke, and having it be more of a biology versus fashion thing, but you'll see it kind of fell flat. Almost immediately, there was a ton of backlash. So a lot of viewers at first just mocked how Sydney Sweeney gave the line delivery. She did it in a very breathy tone, and it was more of a stylized performance, I would say, and it was very awkward in my opinion, very scripted and very cringy at the end of the day. But that wasn't really the real issue when it came down to people looking more at the advertisement and the campaign overall. People were really mad about the phrase, good jeans. Many viewers argue that the campaign echoed themes tied to eugenics. According to the National Institute of Health, eugenics is the practice of advocating of improving the human species through selective breeding. This is based on the belief that certain inherent traits are superior. Historically, the early eugenics movement assumed traits like intelligence, morality, and even beauty were genetically fixed according to your traits. It also promoted the idea that some people were biologically better. So when audiences saw the words good genes, and it was said by a woman who fits the traditional Western beauty standards, being white, thin, blonde, and blue-eyed, a lot of people interpret it as the advertisement implying that those were the best jeans. The advertisement never really explicitly said that, but the marketing was judged mostly on the intent and having it on that perception. And this perception was basically shaped by cultural context. And in a climate where conversations about race and privilege have been at the forefront, the wordplay was really uncomfortable to many viewers. And even though it was supposed to be clever by American Eagle, for a lot of people, it was very symbolic of outdated beauty stereotypes. So the aftermath of this advertisement, it was fast. Within hours, there were thousands of TikToks, Instagram breakdowns, X threads, think pieces. I saw a lot of video essays on YouTube, and it was so big. So good jeans became more of a meme. It was a debated topic, and culturally, people weren't rushing to buy the denim in American Eagle, and the conversation was very critique heavy. No people were really giving it hype, and the campaign kind of tanked American Eagle's reputation. But there is also a twist when it comes to the financials of this advertisement. At the initial launch, American Eagle stock reportedly rose by 33%, according to Reuters. So this tension of having the cultural backlash but short-term market enthusiasm was really weird to me. I felt like American Eagle's reputation was going down, but also their stock was going up at the same time. And it kind of reminded me of when GameStop was going out of business and everyone went and bought that stock just because it was a meme. And overall, I felt like this was a short-term financial win, but overall, this did not make American Eagle look good, and I feel like their reputation is still being tanked by this to this day. So now I think it's important to contrast this and look at a campaign that did really well, that was similar to the American Eagle advertisement. So about a month later in 2025 in August, Katseye, the global girl group in the brand Gap, launched their own campaign. So this had a very different reaction. So Gap released this commercial featuring Katseye, who is a girl group that performs and sings, and they did a dance to the high energy remix of Milkshake. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and their life is better than yours. That was so fun to see kind of a old 2000 song worked within this, but from the first second it had bright lighting, there was a lot of clean studio space, and the choreography was sharp and very innovative, lots of dancers, and the denim that was featured was very fashionable and trendy, and a lot of dancing also went on. So the difference between the two is that Katseye wasn't framed as genetically perfect, they were framed as performers. They danced the whole time, there was no talking within the advertisement, and I think that's what really made it stand out. And also the advertisement was really built for people to participate in the campaign. The choreography was really TikTok ready, so fans could recreate it, remix it, make stitches to it, and copy the dancers of Katseye doing it, and I felt like the campaign was really built around this behavior. It also understood that in 2025, advertisements just don't get watched, they really get interacted with, and having that social media go on really made it stand out within the social media landscape. And also overall, this group of Katseye is a multicultural group. They're all from different nations within the world, and having that international fan base is also a very strong point within the success for Gap. It also included a digital native presence, and Gap wasn't only presenting one beauty stereotype. The girls are of all colors, of all nations, have different features, different hair, different eyes, and it presented more of a collective of having everyone together and being different and having that movement and energy was something that I really enjoyed, and I think a lot of people it stood out to. So when I think you zoom out of this whole marketing mistake, it really comes down to one thing. American Eagle didn't fully account for the cultural landscape that they were stepping into. And in 2025, that is not optional, and you cannot just get away with not doing that. Brands just don't launch campaigns with empty space anymore. They launch them into environments that are shaped by ongoing conversations about race and representation, high-end media literacy, historical awareness, and social media and how important that is these days. The cultural climate isn't just about background, it's the stage. And if you don't read it correctly, the audience will rewrite for you. And that's the key difference here. Katseye's Gap campaign felt aware of the moment and embraced culture and being different, but American Eagles really fell flat on having that diversity and ensuring that everyone felt included. But overall, having that community is so important, and I think that you can't ignore the cultural impacts that marketing has. And that's just good strategy. Today's campaign may have missed the mark, but the lesson doesn't have to. Thanks for listening to Miss the Mark with me, Jacie Ambrose. I'll see you next time for another marketing moment that didn't quite land.